In this video, I'm going to look at how we can take this designer's clock face concept that's been made as a CAD file in Techsoft Design and apply textures to it so we get a representation of how it's going to look once it's been laser engraved. There's a few things I still need to do with this. For example, I need to make sure that where we've got engraving for the numbers, we see that as the appropriate effect. So it won't be black filled, it will then be like a darker texture where the beam has engraved into the wood. I've also got here a back panel, which would be a piece of silver card, which we would then be placing or gluing behind the clock, and then we can see how the holes that have been cut into the wood then get filled, or then the silver card then shows through. I'm also going to have a look at what we need to do to make sure that the 0 of the 10 here works correctly, because as we'll see, when we cut out the 0 there, the counter of the 0 is going to fall away. Okay, so that's the plan. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab all those elements. I've got gridlock turned on here. I'm going to drop those up here out of the way. And of course, I'm also just confirming here I have my 5mm grid in pale blue lines. Let's actually make sure I'm going to go for the more pale blue there. And I find that that is even more easy to work with. Okay, so let's have a see. This is the design that we're going to be working with. Now then, I can see with the green color code that all of the minute and hour markings here are simply going to be engraved on top of the wood. So actually what I want to do here is probably, select those parts. We'll see. Maybe I can just leave them there. We'll see what happens. I can see I've got my hole here for the clock spindle to go through. And then that's going to be cut out. We've got the 1, the 10, and the 7 are going to be cut out because they have blue outlines. I have the blue outline to cut the clock face out as this circle, and I've got all these black fills, and also the black from the photograph here is also going to be engraving onto the wood as well. So let's have a see what I'm going to do here. First of all, I'm going to create just the wooden background that represents my clock face. So let's come to the bound fill tool, which is tool B4 here on the left-hand toolbar. I'm going to go to the fill effect, and I want to make sure that that's going to be a texture, and I can go to load texture. I'm going to go to the uncut wood section. It will by default go to the textures menu. I want to go to uncut wood, and then I'm going to choose the wood finish that I'm after. Now we have a range of materials available, which you'll see in your research for this project. I'm probably going to go with this gritty wood here to represent perhaps the cherry wood finish. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe it's more of a bamboo finish. Anyway, let's have a look. Click on OK there, click on OK again, and now I can start to identify what I actually want to fill. Now, if I click on the internal edge of the clock face here and say no more islands, then basically I get, yes, it's more like bamboo, isn't it really? I get this kind of bamboo fill effect here, but notice in this particular case, it's not taken into account the hole for my clock spindle, and it's also not taken into account here the cutting out of the 1, the 10, and the 7. So I'm going to undo that. I've still got the same tool, so I can try that again. I'm going to click on the internal edge of this clock face, and yes, now I have an island. Now notice that yes is kind of highlighted in blue there, which means I can also press the enter key on the keyboard, and I can now say the 1's going to be an island, yes, the clock spindle is going to be an island, the 7's going to be an island, the 1 here of the 10 is going to be an island, and also this is going to be an island, as is theoretically the counter. There are no more islands. I click on no, and now you can see how that has represented what will be cut out on the laser cutter. However, let's go back to the counter here, or this little internal part here to the 0. Hopefully you can realize that that is separate from the rest of the clock face. And so when I remove the wood here from the laser cutter, this small element here will drop away. So clearly that's no good. So what I'm going to do is undo this again, and I'm going to create this as a stencil. So I'm going to get 2 lines here. Let's come on to step lock here. I've got a 1mm step lock setting. And I'm going to draw in there, let's just see, I'm going to draw a line here and a line here, and they are going to be, I believe, 2mm apart. Let's just confirm this. Yes, they are. And I think that's going to be enough wood to hold the counter in place. Now, let's get the delete part tool, and can I now trim this away? Let's find out. No. So what I need to do with this number here at the moment, this is a text entry. I'm going to go to Edit, Make Path, and what this will do is it will convert text into lines and curves. In other words, it's going to convert this from text into a vector. So I'm going to carry out that conversion. And now if I click on properties, you'll see that I'm looking at the properties of the line color. And if I go to start edit, this is now made up from a series of vectors with nodes separating them and these little handles that now let me effectively kind of distort the shape of those numbers, which of course I don't want to do. So I'm going to undo that. But now, because this is a vector, I can get the delete part tool and I can now trim that back, and that's going to give me my cut out 0 with the counter connected to the rest of the clock face. I'm just going to make sure that I make those two lines blue, and I'm also going to make sure as well that I group this together. Now, actually, instead of grouping it together, I'm going to use the Make Path tool, and that's more powerful in this case than grouping, because Make Path means that it will make all of those basically one continuous vector. Click on yes there, and that means now it's just like grouping it, but it's actually seen by the computer as one continuous vector. So if I wanted to, I could now fill that in. Now, of course, we don't want to. We want to cut that out. Okay, so let's now come back to my bound fill tool. So I had this as my main fill area, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 islands, no more islands, and now I can see that the counter inside the 0 there will be held on. So I hadn't done that over here in this model up here. Okay, now then, I'm now going to zoom back in on this. I'm going to pull this to the side. Whoops, I've got step lock on here. I've got to be careful there. Let's escape that. I'm going to put that to grid lock. And then now when I pull this to the side, I know that I'm going to have it's on the grid, basically. Yes, it's on the grid. Good. Also, what I should have really done there as well, before making these modifications, I should have really copied that so that basically I've got an original of that file, of that graphic there, up there. And I'm going to now continue working on this model. Now, in terms of putting in this graphic, if I bring this across, I can see that it goes to the background like so. But of course, what I could do is I could click on the clock face here and I could send the clock face to back, and now this graphic comes in front. But you can see the graphic has got a white backing there. So what I'm going to do with this, actually, in fact, just bring it back across here for the time being. Was that in the right place? I think it was actually there. Yes, I think that's more like it. What I'm going to do is copy this, and then I'm going to vectorize this bitmap. Okay, so I'm going to come to bitmaps, vectorize bitmaps, click on there. Now, because it's a monochrome image, my life is easy. You really want to work with monochrome images here. I can change the luminance value here to thin or thicken the details there. I want to make it a bit thicker, I think. And I'm going to click on OK. I could go to custom settings, but I'm just going to keep it simple, go with the default. Okay, and I can see now that has vectorized it. In fact, I'm not very pleased there with the fine detail in this effect. So I think what I'm actually going to do is pull that to the side. I'm going to recopy this, paste it across. I've still got grid lock on here, so everything's snapping on the grid. And now I'm going to come back to bitmap and I'm going to vectorize this again as a monochrome, increase the luminance a little bit. Yes, I'm happy with that. And now I will go to custom because I can see that the standard conversion is quite low pixel count. I can make this a much higher pixel count. Now, as soon as I click on OK, the chances are this is going to take a while. Okay, so rather than just have you watching this, I think I'm going to pause the video and then we'll come back. Okay, so that took about 40 seconds there to do that processing. And if I just now zoom in on these, then hopefully what we can see is that the higher resolution conversion has got much finer details here. So I'm glad that I went ahead and did that. This is looking much, much neater. Okay, now notice here that with the high resolution setting, we've also got a bit of an anomaly happening over here as well. What is happening with this? I'm just going to try a few things out here. Can I ungroup this? Control U as ungroup. No, there's nothing to ungroup there. Sometimes there's like little errors and things that appear, little gray blobs and stuff. And if you select it and you ungroup it or Control so Control U, then you can select those errors and delete them out. But in this case, that's not the case. But what I can do is click on this. I can go to Start Edit, and look, there's a little node up here. Can I select that node by clicking and dragging over it, and then go Delete Node? Is that going to work, or is that going to crash everything? Uh-oh. What have I done? Not responding. This could be bad, folks. I think I'm going to pause the video here again while it's just thinking to itself. Okay, phew, we're fine. Now there's also just like a little error. Yep, okay, it's struggling here. Let's go to media. Oh, there you go. It's picked it up again. Right. There's also a little issue right here. I could delete that node as well. I'm not going to worry about it now because I want to keep moving forwards with the video. But obviously I could do a bit of cleaning up there. And of course, I should make sure I'm saving my work regularly with incremental version numbers in case anything does crash, and then I can just go back to the previous stage. So the fact I haven't saved this here is very naughty of me. Okay, right, what are we going to do with this then? Now, I could now bring this in onto my clock face, but notice that it's not really going to represent how it's going to look. What I want to do with this is go to the fill mode, go to texture, go to load textures. Now find a darker wood, something that's going to perhaps represent how this will look when it's engraved. Okay, that's looking more like it. Also, perhaps as well, just go to the line and make the line invisible there. Okay, so that's how it's going to appear once it's been engraved onto the clock face. And what else do we have over here? I've got all my numbers here. So I almost feel as if what I want to do right now is actually take this. Yes, deselect that image. Let me see. Can I also deselect the things that have been cut out? That looks good. Can I copy that? Gridlock's on. Good. Can I paste that? Perhaps group that together while I'm at it so I can grab it more easily. Bring it across, drop it in there. Notice it's snapping onto the grid. And then let's have a see how that's going to appear. Yeah, that's looking quite nice, isn't it? I'm rather enjoying that. Now, of course, all these lines here actually won't be green when they're engraved on. They're probably, if I come to the color here, they're probably going to be represented better as a kind of brown like that. Okay, and then I've got these. Oh, I've grouped it, of course, haven't I? Let's ungroup that quickly now. Sorry, the 12, 11, 9, 8, 6. Look, I can count. Dear me. Okay, and the rest. All of these, of course, don't want to be black. I'm going to come back to my fill tool here. I'm going to go to, whoops, texture, load, no, load texture, thank you. Select again my darker wood, which I think was that cracked purple wood. I think that was the one, wasn't it? Let's keep our fingers crossed. Drop that in there. That's looking nice. And now we're starting to get a really good idea of how this is going to look when it's been laser engraved. I need to just do the backing silver card now. So let's perhaps take that circle there, which is just 5 millimeters in from the edge. I'm going to copy and paste that, bring that over here. I'm going to fill that solid. Let's try and find something that represents kind of silver. That one looks good to me. Okay, of course, I also need to have here my spindle from the center. Let's copy and paste that. I've got to bring that across. I've got to drop that right in the center of this circle. And look, that fill was wrong, wasn't it? I need to delete that fill. Whoops, a daisy. That fill was wrong. I don't want to delete the fill. I want to lose the fill. And I want to use, let's make sure that is black for this demonstration. I want to use the bound fill again. Yes, that's what I want. And I want that to be solid. That's more like it. And now when I use the bounding fill, I can click on the external circle. Yes, have the spindle as an island. No more islands. Now we're talking. Maybe select all of that. Actually make the line color invisible. Okay, and then I can bring this in and I can send it to the back, and then that's how it's going to look, and that's looking really great. Now I'm actually just going to undo that. I'm going to bring it to the side like that, perhaps. Boom, that's nice. Now send it to the back, and then it means that I can bring it in, because once I've dropped it in there, it's difficult to pick it up. So now I can just undo that and bring it back out again. And so now what I have is a really nice kind of development of this CAD file. Maybe just bring that across to there, grab this, bring it to the left. I've got a nice development of my CAD file from the concept through to the actual texture model. And in terms of showing my client what it is I want to create, this is the graphic I would show them. I've just noticed there's a little construction line there, so I need to make sure that on this model I actually delete that. Great, I can show that to my client now, particularly with this brought in, and that's going to really help them understand what my clock design is going to represent or look like. Of course, minus the hands. So I hope that was useful, folks. See you in the next video.